Sherry Markson of Sky News Australia does a great piece. It's only like an hour long. What happened in Wuhan? And you tweeted out it's got a ton of good info, which coming from you is the ultimate compliment for anybody reporting on this. The first soundbite we have is her, Sherry, speaking to a Chinese defector named Wei Jinsheng, talking to him about, because he's here in the United States, but he's still very, very well connected to top people in the Chinese Communist Party and elsewhere. And she's trying to ask him, when did they know that there was an outbreak underway? You'll hear a reference to the 2019 military games in China that happened in October 2019. Let's listen.
When did you first hear that there was a virus in Wuhan? Was it during the time of the military games?
Yes. I learned there was an unusual exercise by the Chinese government during the military games. And so I told Diamond about the possibility of the Chinese government using some strange weapons, including biological weapons, because I knew they were doing experiments of that sort.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to get you a comment on that, but just to add a little context to it, the military games, again, happened in October of 19 in Wuhan. There were reports of athletes becoming sick. Afterward, 9,000 athletes were there. They went home to some 100 plus countries. So what, biological weapons, that's different from, that's not exactly the same as lab leak. I realized there was a part of the Wuhan lab. We don't know what was going on. And the Chinese military was reportedly in there. But what do you make of what he just said?
Sure. Well, first of all, everybody go watch Sherry's documentary. She interviewed President Trump, John Radcliffe, Mike Pompeo, Miles Yu, a bunch of other people who had a front row seat to this whole thing. And
Radcliffe is the former director of national intelligence.
Yes, and top Trump administration officials, but also people who were inside the system, many of whom I talked to for my book, who all came to the conclusion that, hey, there's a lot of circumstantial evidence pointing to these labs. We should check out these labs. And I also know Wei. He was a leading pro-democracy advocate back when China had a pro-democracy movement. Now he lives in exile around Washington, D.C., and he's credible. But you don't have to believe him. There's a ton of public information put out by the Chinese government about their biowarfare strategy. And again, this is something that you could get canceled for talking about a year ago, but now it's kind of obvious. We have a biowarfare program. They have a biowarfare program. Guess where theirs is located? Where all the viruses are, okay? Where at the Wuhan Institute of Virology and other places. Also in Beijing, they have a network of now. Was this part of that? We don't know, okay? Are we pretty sure that they have a biowarfare program that involved viruses? Yeah, absolutely. Is it a coincidence that the PLA took over the Wuhan Institute of Virology after the pandemic broke out? No, probably not. Okay, so we don't know the details of the Chinese military. So we don't know the details of how their biowarfare program is connected to this, but we can't rule it out. And that's not a conspiracy theory. That's just an obvious, I think, well-established fact. Now, the thing that you talked about next, which is like, when did this thing start? Well, that's a real mind-blowing kind of idea, because most of us assumed that it started in December. Then we found out maybe November. Then Robert Redfield said maybe September or October. And that changes everything, because that means that if it's true that it came out in September or October, which is when the Wuhan Institute of Virology took its database offline, coincidentally, I guess, right? If that was the truth, then that means they covered it up for 4 more months even than we thought. We knew they covered it up some, but this would be another 4 months. And, I got contacted by several athletes who were at those Wuhan military games in October of 2019. And this is not, they had their own experiences, and many of them said they got deathly ill with what they later realized to be COVID. There was no COVID test at that time. Many of them still haven't been tested. But one of my sources said that in his team of 15 athletes, 5 of them got so deathly ill, they had to put them to the back of the plane on the way home to keep them away from everybody. And they also said that when they were in Wuhan, it was eerily quiet and the government was doing all sorts of weird things, like making everybody wash their hands all the time.